You're listening to Real Estate and Bourbon. Whether you like it neat or on the rocks, you're in the right place. And now your host, Dawn Roy.
Welcome, my lovelies, to another edition of Real Estate and Bourbon. And I can't wait for you to meet my guest. She's just, I don't know, we kind of fell in love online, didn't we? Like through a forum.
It was
like
Bigger Pockets.
Bigger Pockets.
Yeah.
Love the Bigger Pockets. So I'm with my sweet dear friend Rachel, who's also a client, and we are in the hunt for investment properties for her. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about. I'm going to tell her that, girl, you need to break up with that boy because he is doing you bad. And I am talking about a property. I also want to take a minute and do a shout out. I was fortunate enough to find the perfect furniture piece for my new bourbon bar at the house. Would you expect any less than I should have a bourbon bar, right?
It's going to start.
It is a gorgeous Art Deco piece by Rebecca Layton of 1220 Designs, and she works through the Lazy Daisy. I don't know if you've ever been to their stuff. Have you been to their stuff?
I need
that
to
store?
go now.
You got to go.
Yeah.
So there's one on Hull Street. There's one in Short Pump. And oddly enough, I've been really looking for something mid-century modern, but I wanted something different. And it didn't matter if it had drawers. I just wanted places to put bottles and then, you know, put my rocks glasses right somewhere.
Well, you have a growing collection.
I have a growing collection, as you well have brought me something delightful for me to try. And so it is literally a beautiful piece that she has painted in this really neat green. She's a huge F. Scott Fitzgerald fan. So in her honor, I am going to have a print of his frame to hang over the piece. It's just going to be really cool. So Rebecca, my sister, thanks for hooking me up, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. And remember, little ears, we do cuss a little, even though we embrace the Jesus. So
it's just so therapeutic.
it's there. Now tell me, what did you bring today?
So this is the TX that I introduced you to at a local whiskey bar here in Richmond.
Yes.
TX is out of Fort Worth, Texas.
Nice.
And I found it when I was at a work trip down in Kerrville, Texas.
And where's Kerrville? I don't even know if I know where
I know
Kerrville
it's
is.
Hill Country. It's
Okay.
like outside
It's Hill
Fredericksburg.
Country. Well, my brother used to be in Dallas. Well, he was
Yes.
in North Plano.
Okay.
That sort of that Frisco area.
I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, do you?
No.
Well, you know, Fort Worth is kind of where the setting of 1883.
Oh.
In honor of my Yellowstone infatuation, I've
Yes.
got my every girl needs a little rip in their jeans shirt on today. So
Solid guy.
It's solid. We were just talking before the podcast, you know, every man should embrace the dad bod and grow a beard. You do that, you will never have to worry about female companionship the rest of your life.
You got things going for you.
You're already ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So Fort Worth, you found this when you were in...
Yeah. So my boss actually is in Kerrville. And
Okay.
so we were doing work trip down to see him and work on business, but he loves
But you drink
whiskey.
bourbon in... Oh,
Yep. And so he introduced me to this bottle of TX, and he remembers two events in his life. One is when this bottle was released. It was a big thing, I guess, down in Texas.
okay.
So it's
So that's an
delicious.
event in his head.
Yeah.
I loved how that just went pop. Well, let's
timing.
let's take a little sip of that, my sister.
So it's super easy drinking and
Beautiful color. Look at the color
really
on that.
light, great starter drink, and tastes like cherries. That's what
A starter drink for like what kind of evening would we? If this is
A
the starter,
nice
Mama, where do we
evening.
go? Where do we go from there?
You know, just a nice little fun
Nice
evening with
light.
friends.
The color is absolutely stunning. Beautiful amber. Well, hot damn if it doesn't taste like cherry.
It's so good. I think I gave you a really big pour. But
I'm not offended.
okay, good.
And I am, that's why I embrace you.
There's been multiple glasses.
Hey, listen,
Bourbon.
Michael has seen where we've had 6 and 12 and we're doing taste testing.
Yeah,
and
this is
Yeah.
just a starter.
this is light. This is lightweight.
Again, it's a good starter drink.
I was talking to Charlie. So Charles Merrill, who's been on the podcast and who Rachel has worked with on some of her projects. I had him having the bourbon sweats.
Oh, gosh.
When he did the podcast. It was hysterical. And he told me yesterday, I was on the phone with him yesterday, And I said, yeah, Rachel's going to be on the podcast. He goes, oh, tell her I said, hey. He goes, yeah, I was talking to her last week about one of the deals. And she said, yeah, I saw such and such on. And he goes, where did you see me? She goes, on the podcast. And he goes, oh, was it the one where I had the bourbon sweat? He literally is traumatized by that. Because you said something about the ghost thing. You said
yes,
the ghost in Churchill.
Yeah, because he was talking about how Churchill is a great neighborhood to invest in.
Yes, and that's where we were looking at that quad, right?
And I brought up the fact that I know he has ghosts, or he had a ghost in his life.
And he was like, how does she know? And I'm like, the podcast, dummy.
It's out there. It's doing well.
It's all, there's no privacy now.
Yeah, it's all out in the open. The more that you drink this bourbon, the more that will continue to be added.
And I think that's the beauty of any amber colored liquor. There's a great saying, it's like, it's something about I love the brown water in fun people, or the brown water makes for fun people, or something like that. Drinking brown water makes for fun people. But this is wow, this is delightful.
It's really good.
It's super, super smooth and easy to drink. You know, because sometimes when you let's say equate it to a very heavier, like a Merlot that's got a lot of tannins and it can be very sharp. This is super smooth.
Yeah, I've heard that women have a lot more sensitive taste buds, and so some of those spicier whiskeys are
harsher to us.
Really hard to drink, especially straight.
Yes.
So this is one that's just smooth, and
you
can do it
would
without
never
the ice cube,
do right. You would do this neat all day long.
Yeah,
it's not even. It doesn't need ice or watering down or anything.
Yeah, and if you add Coke to something like this, you deserve to
be punched in the throat.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
I'm glad.
So, and this is one of the bottles that, I can't remember if I've told, my brother moved from Texas and he's living with me currently because he has a rental home in Northern Virginia that the tenant doesn't move out until July.
Okay.
So he's with me, but he flies. He's a pilot with Southwest. I don't know if Southwest is a bad word, but he flies with Southwest. He's a captain. And so he's on the road from like Monday to Thursday. And then he comes back in on Friday. And so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I have to mark and go, you cannot touch that bottle, any of the Blantons, don't go near it. He actually, the very first bottle of Blantons.
What are you saving them for? Are they
but you don't
occasion?
drink them. Listen, I came down during Christmas. Charlie Merrill gave me my very first bottle of Blantons. Yeah. It's like a treasure to me. It was 3/4 full. I come down one morning and it's maybe got 30%. And I said, wait, hold on, what just happened? I'm verklempt. And he's like, what's wrong? I said,
great word.
We don't touch this. I can't find this. This isn't just anywhere. You can have the Buffalo Trace. You can have the Woodford Reserve. You can have the Elijah Craig. You can even have the cheaper versions of Four Roses.
Well, I gotta, first of all, Four Roses. I don't know how you do that, but
well, I can tell you though, for some reason, that particular bourbon is the strongest smelling one that I've ever smelt in this podcast.
The Four Roses?
No, this
one right here.
Oh. I don't know why, but
it's very aromatic, I will tell you.
Yeah, normally I can't smell
and
them.
And it's got a sweet to it, a sweet smell to it. So.
Well, I think that I think you need to just readjust your perception about the Blantons, because if you really want more of it, you could find it like I did with TX.
I got to drive to freaking...
I spent half a day looking for this
Connecticut to find the Blantons. You know what I mean? Well, that being said, I do have to tell him, because I had a friend for Christmas give me a bottle of Eagerware, and I'm like, you will not touch that. I have a bottle of a Japanese whiskey that's about $150 a bottle. I said, you don't get to touch that. I will let you have a sip once in a while.
Yeah.
But this is not, but when he's throwing back. And I'm like, go for the $30 bottle.
Start with a nice bottle, but then make the switch to a Jack.
Yeah,
and
right.
If you're going to do that.
If you're trying to get drunk, don't do it on the good stuff, okay?
Enjoy the good stuff. I understand. All right. I understand.
Well, this is the cool thing about Rachel. I think we fell into each other in a way. So she mentioned Bigger Pockets. So Bigger Pockets is a website with a lot of training and has forums for people looking to be investors or get into the investor space and have questions about, and it's anything. It's long-term, short-term, mid-term, flipping, any of that. Whatever, however you see real estate in an investor way, that's where I think that forum has a lot of benefit to it.
It's beyond explosive now. I mean, it has its own thing. If anybody's new to it, there's now podcasts and different forums for every level of investor, every strategy you want to go after. It's huge.
And we connect. I've connected with folks, and I connected with you. And I can't remember whether I made a comment on something or whatever. But we connected, and we decided to meet because you are here in the area and you want to get into multifamily.
I want. So this is probably
go ahead and
this is the start of
bare your soul to the viewing audience.
I want some real estate because I know you need to build your own fortune. You can't rely on anybody to do that. I want some sort of real estate because I know it's an easier way to get into the into the market in order to support yourself long term. And I have a lot of different strategies, but multifamily is one of them that I'm considering and have yet to be successful in.
Well, it's funny to me because you'll go, this is what I'm doing. And then the next thing I know, you're sending me a house. I'm like, this is a single family house off of Arch Road in Chesterfield County. Where are you going with this, girl? Help me out. So,
I'm struggling.
So the story that's the most fun and has caused you more trauma. I mean, this is the trauma bond that you have. So she found this really very cool place in Jackson Ward. Mm-hmm. It is a main house, and because of the year it was built, it has a true carriage house that's been converted.
Incredible.
It's a beautiful building. And of course, back in the day, Richmond was all carriage drawn, horse drawn carriages. And it has a carriage house that over the years, someone has converted into like a small space. There's a kitchenette, there's a bathroom, there's sleeping space and all that. Plus now we have also a basement.
Yes.
So there's multiple ways for this to work. Well, she saw it. We went to see it. It was love at first sight.
I'm still deeply in love with it. But the trauma that this property has caused me also instigated that let's look at single family
Let's look at other options. So I've always said, buying real estate or selling real estate is really like dating. Okay. Yeah. And so this is, she got on the dating app. She saw the beautiful date. She decided she wanted to go out on a date. Yes. But the problem with this particular house, and we took a shot at it, and we put an offer on it. We got outbid on this property. And within weeks of closing, the original buyers had to back out because it's a non-conforming, meaning its zoning doesn't conform to what it's being used for. Mm-hmm. And FHA, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac create all the lending rules, and it doesn't conform to their guidelines. And so the buyers had to pop off. And really the only thing that'll take this house is a 20% portfolio loan at this point, right?
No.
Well,
I mean,
she is like,
this is why you've invited me on this podcast.
If anybody wants to know how to investigate the snot out of lenders, this one right here. So tell us what you have found, Mama.
So you're shortchanging this story for this podcast.
Okay, we're not going to. Hold on.
I'm just trying to keep up here.
So we have a house that doesn't conform to normal lending rules.
What does that mean?
So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which is a government thing, they set the guidelines for all lending practices nationwide. And then lenders can, at their discretion, add other layers of qualify. So it's how you qualify for the house.
So I understand that part.
Okay.
But why does this house,
because
it's listed as a single family property, but they're
renting everything out.
Yeah, there's like 3 units that are for rent. So when the appraisal walked through and saw 3 separate units under a single family house, zoned as single family house, he basically said this is it's non-conforming. Yeah. And so all of the lenders, especially the one for the people that initially beat me out, so they were trying to go through conventional loan offerings like the 3.5 to 5 or 20% down using conventional loan types from Freddie Mae, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac.
It's a tongue twister.
Was
Those
this,
bastards from the government.
was this a VCU like?
It's
near VCU.
So it's
right
all
off
the
of,
college and everyone's.
it would make great rental space because of the location,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But how am I shortchanging the story? I want you to put because you can literally find loan products that I don't even know anybody knows is out there.
So this is part of the
Trauma bond.
destructive relationship that you and I have talked about, where, I mean, I've been looking at this property since this past summer.
Yes.
And it wasn't one offer, it was a multiple offer situation that happened and unfolded over the course of basically 6 months. So there was a summer offering when the initial couple fell through with their deal. Then
we
I
went
put
back
in another
in.
offer with the same amount, which
I'm
going to throw it out there.
They huffed at.
They huffed at. They don't even want to be in the same sandbox with me to even counter offer, which was, I'm fine with that negotiation, but I thought my offer would at least open the door to them bringing down what I think is an overpriced house.
It's overpriced. And the only thing is, having a conversation is where anything comes to fruition. And there's just no conversation. And another caveat to this whole thing, during the process of the first buyer trying to get their loan approval, they did the appraisal, and the appraisal came in at $25,000 higher than original list price. So now they think that's their new.
But it's not selling.
Because it's non-conforming. And it is, and I asked the listing agent, I said, you've got a property that's now going to be very difficult, and you now know the difficulties in selling it, and yet you guys have raised your price another $25,000. So when Rachel, said I want another crack at it, and we went back in at what we offered the first time, and it really got the snub. We were snubbed.
They still refuse to open the conversation, but it's still on.
It's still on the market.
Nobody is looking at this house other than
So that person really doesn't want to sell.
I don't know how motivated they are.
Yeah, they're not really wanting to sell. They just want to have a quick cash, deal.
Probably, but
But now the only tenants they have left, because the one in the basement moved out, the one in the carriage house has moved out, and it's the two people's in the main house.
But how many units does this person own down in that area? Only because I'm saying this because I bet
they have a lot.
That's the thing, is I shoot a lot of people's properties that are like this.
Yeah.
They have 10, 15 scenario houses on this scenario, like this. So they're like not hurting for cash. It's not a one
but
person
the thing
owning.
is, either shit or get off the pot.
Take it off the market.
Take it off the market and
Yeah.
just fully rent it out and move on.
They'll keep it on there until it's blue in the
So
face.
what I was told was they feel that once the spring market comes, there'll be this renewed a different group of buyers that will all of us magically show up.
Nope.
No.
And now you've got a listing that shows hundreds of days on market. So, that's and for most people, that's like, what's wrong with that?
The financing is still the crux of the problem with this property.
True.
So, I mean, I spoke to a lot of lenders.
Yeah, let's get the number on that. You spoke to tons.
I spoke to way too many, ran my credit.
I bet your email is in so many inboxes for so many people.
I got really good at combining and consolidating.
I mean, did you just do a zip file with all your stuff?
much, yeah.
Here, take a look at this and see what you can do.
This is all of my personal information. Have at it. That's exactly what happens.
Right.
And not the greatest for the outcome that we've gotten so far.
Are you like married to this area?
No.
She's married to this house.
I'm married to the house.
It is the most
beautiful.
Remember when I
But
came
here's
up
the
with,
thing. What I'm thinking, and if I was in your scenario, and I'm a guy, so I'm not emotionally attached to certain things or whatever. Guitars is about
maybe
it.
the Eddie Van Halen guitar.
Yeah.
But like, if time's wasting on building your portfolio and getting the ball rolling on that type of deal, where you've got to look at it is like a investment opportunity, a time, like it's like
Right.
that ship is gone. Like, time to like find that,
That is the crux of a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. It's really. I mean, I think, to be honest with you, I will give you credit for this. This is probably one of the reasons I came up with the idea that selling and buying houses is like dating, because you got so connected to this house.
Well, it is a beautiful house. Look, I'm already defending it. It's a beautiful house. It's so unique, and just the lot size, how it's laid out. It's
an extra size. It's a bigger lot than anything.
I mean, I've gone through the city's GIS, and I've gone street by street to try to find something similar, and it doesn't exist in Richmond. It is,
but it's
such
not
a
gone.
Unique property.
It's not gone.
It's not gone.
It's not gone.
But there is other things out there that could be obtained.
Yes.
That when that time comes, you can still get that.
So this is where. I mean, where to go from here? Because
I know where you're
I'm trying to approach this as reasonable, and without the fact that, taking aside the fact that I do love this property for everything that it offers, the architectural details, stuff like that, looking at the numbers and saying feasibly, there's, for the strategy I'm envisioning, for the numbers for the long haul, the cash flow isn't necessarily there, because I'd still have to put more money into it, which is why I haven't gone back and really significantly upped my offer.
Right.
So I'm trying
because
to
what we
consider
did
certain
offer
things
gives
like
you
that.
room to do that.
Yeah.
Because there is, it's dated. It does need, especially the carriage house. And that also is one of the problems posed to the appraiser.
Yes.
Is there not, there's no comparable to it in the immediate area.
Yeah.
And the carriage house, the upstairs needs to be reworked, because it's just odd configuration how the bathroom and everything is laid out, and you are going to have to put money into it, and which is all the reason why we offered what we did.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, this is my value statement. This is where I'm going to stand, and you got to hold firm to that.
How
But
many
to your
houses?
point-
How many houses can you get if you didn't go like push it to the max?
On that one,
On that one, how many other properties could you obtain in the time, like say year to 2 year type of deal time frame, to build up your portfolio?
depending on the type of property, we could probably get
Like
you
a
into a couple
rancher.
of quads for sure.
Well, see, so this is going back to your original question, Mike, of is this house holding you back on your strategy? Sure, you could say that, but I could also say this was such a unique property and such a unique business model that I was looking at, that in some respects, I am trying to find something that can replicate it, because I believe in that business
How
model
that
so
layout is,
much. And I'm also trying to probably fit a lot of square pegs into round holes. So I need to consider that if this is my first investment property, I'm trying to move into it so I get the lowest down payment.
Mm-hmm.
There's just other factors that it's hard for me to find that other next property that would allow me to.
This is her rip.
Well,
She's doing you wrong, baby.
well, no. The thing is that also in this property, for being your first one,
Yeah.
okay, what kind of cost of unknown are you risking, you're putting yourself in, that potentially could be something that you can get that's easier, since you haven't done this yet, and to learn the ins and outs. To this property might be a bigger mountain to climb.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, because I've been, trying to, in the future of, I've been around you guys long enough and to get in this wheelhouse type of deal. I do other things, podcasts and things like that. But
you're considering this venue.
No, Airbnb.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's what,
know.
that's the beauty of this particular property, okay? Because we have 3 spaces to have occupancy.
I just know it's out there, and I shoot. I'm on the field every day shooting houses and stuff like that.
She would Airbnb
There's
the carriage house.
so many other potential
options
out there, just to build up your portfolio quicker, to get something,
Yeah. So it's like the white whale. You know what I mean? It's like the one that got away, the one,
Well, it's still there.
And
just
you really, true. And I will say that person who pays them their price and it's, go for it. Good luck to them. Have at it. You know what I mean? There's, we can't.
Well, there's a reason why it's still out there.
Yeah, there is absolutely a reason why it's still out there.
But again, going back to your question, Mike, of, am I missing out on something? I'm looking for the next property, which is why I've asked you to look at certain other avenues.
Yeah.
I just have not found the right one for me just yet. So
And just as I think that I have figured it out, she will shoot me a house that I'm like, and where did that one come from? What is your strategy there? And she'll go, I have a strategy. I'm like, well, let me in on it.
I would just send her one back that's totally random and be like, what?
There's been so many
Here's a
random
rancher
ones.
in Disputanta.
Yeah, there was like this house that was literally falling apart and like maybe 20, 30 minutes outside the city.
Yes.
But it was sitting on like 20 acres.
Yeah.
Like, well, that sounds nice. But the house, you couldn't live in the house.
Michael's giving her the, no, girl.
So
No.
it's just, to me, I'm trying to find something I can actually live in while having the right numbers.
Wait, you want to live in this one too?
So she owns a home and would turn that into a rental. And then live
so this is something that you are looking to buy to live in.
that has potential. Not
2 to 3 years max. That I like the
we're trying to
goal
get
is
owner occupant financing. That's the key.
It's cheaper because I still have student loans.
Yeah.
I'm not. Student loans are something I actually have to negotiate still. But
But if we get a
that
good
kind of
Airbnb,
level.
we can pay those off quick.
Exactly. If I can get the right property.
Like
You know
I've
what
got one coming up that you're going to have to photograph, and we're going to turn it into an Airbnb. That's Scott's Edition house,
Yeah.
and we were
Which
going
is getting tighter and tighter.
we were going to sell,
yeah.
and then we realized we might be able to, utilize this. And so we're putting some things into place. It's almost done, but it's only 2 blocks in all of Scott's Edition that has single family homes and they're row houses. And we were able to pick something up off market, and we got cabinetry in and flooring. It's beautiful. It's going to be really nice.
That sounds really nice.
And I think people are going to want to, that location in particular of all, when you're looking at a short-term rental or even mid-term rental, you've got people can walk out the front door and go to Pinky's and Urban Roost and Strange Ways or Wood and Iron. They it will be bachelor parties and graduation events. And there's a lot to be said about the area. So you're going to do the photography on it because I got to make it blingy blingy,
Yeah. So I came across something the other day just on the investment sides. There's people, and this is a different level for realtors that like get in the game of flipping houses or whatever. Mm-hmm. They actually want a realtor in, I think it was in Texas maybe. He got into private jet rentals. And he's doing double and triple what he would normally do on a house flip. And there's no basically long process of building it out or gutting it and whatever.
Right.
He's investing the money and stuff like that. And so there's maybe 4 people that own the plane, and all they do is pay for the pilots and the fuel and stuff like that, and then just turn and burn all day long.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So he doesn't take ownership of the airplane.
No, I think he got to the level where he does own one now, but he started out where he got in with two different.
It's like rental arbitrage with
should we
Airbnb.
start looking up how much rental, how much planes cost?
It's a
we'll
game
do arbitrage with airplanes, right?
It is a game that is not saturated.
No one's in there.
It's a very unique situation, but $30,000, $20,000 a flight. Do the math. Do that 2 times a day.
Yeah.
Type of thing in certain areas.
Hell with these houses, Rachel.
My goodness.
I'm just saying.
Goodness.
If you do research, start researching on that. YouTube that.
I thought for one hot minute about renting Delilah, and then I just couldn't.
Oh no.
No, car rental and stuff like that is huge too. I've been thinking it would be amazing to have an Airbnb down in Florida, right?
Right.
And then itemize everything from there, where if they want to rent out the pool toys, rent out the beach stuff, the
Right.
towels to go to the beach or whatever.
Right.
And then also, hey, there's a convertible in the house. Also, if you want to rent that out, it's X amount of dollars too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, goes to prove that you can make a business out of anything.
Well,
I mean, it's really.
May I tell
yeah.
her?
Sure.
And what's in the other room? He does this with shoes. With
I've heard, yeah.
Like
on the
like
podcast, the shoes.
like
Yeah.
sneakers and
Yeah.
stuff.
I'm constantly like wheels turning.
I don't even know when the man sleeps. I'd like to know.
I stress my out some stuff out all the time. But it's like when I heard this about the planes or whatever, because it doesn't have to be a big plane. It doesn't have to be, it could be just a little pop-up
My
jumper.
brother's a pilot. We could.
I'm telling
I could
you.
offer him as.
Yeah. A little side gig.
Yeah.
Because you can just, put the two together. You don't even have to literally own the plane.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just,
Because there's a lot of people doing that in the Airbnb space. They go and they lease a house
right.
with they have to be full disclosure what they're going to be doing with it.
Right.
And then they lease it on Airbnb for 3, 4, 5 times what
Right.
the monthly rent is.
Right.
So,
And then also when you have places that you are maybe in between people, whatever, there's traveling nurses
yes.
that are always constantly looking for, and
Yeah.
that it's guaranteed money.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So like, there's ways to stretch out, but the plane
midterm
thing
rental.
is like, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, that's big time. Yeah.
And it's not really big time.
No, but I mean, that's a big time idea. I think that's a very forward thinking place
Right,
to be in.
right.
You know what I
I
mean?
mean, there's you have to readjust your how you look at things or whatever, and get there. But
Right.
But the maintenance or whatever is pretty much the only thing you'd have to worry about.
Right.
Not all the other things of getting started, ownership
right.
and all that.
So the moral of the story, girls and boys, is you can monetize anything.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I yeah.
Well, a year from now, you'll be like, hey, if you want to jump on my plane, let me know.
Well, I'm ready to start crowdsourcing for that.
Right? Let's do that. Who wants to go in on that project? We'll start raising funds for that.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, to circle back around to this particular property, I don't think it's been really a waste for you because you've discovered a lot of things in the process, different loan products, different ways to, really, and it's always about the numbers. And that's the one thing I will say, because I get a lot of people will reach out to me, through Bigger Pockets, and they don't have a source of funds. They've never been pre-approved. They don't, you know what I mean? They think they're going to kind of fall into this. And I wish they would not spend more time doing what you have done than on YouTube videos on how to flip a house. You know what I mean? And I mean this to be kind and very sincere. I want everybody to be in the investment space, but you got to be prepared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'd say the same thing to them as I say to someone just wanting to buy. You've got to get connected with, if you don't have cash or a hard money lender, or how are you going to buy this is what I want to know. Where's your, and they'll always, say, well, I've never owned anything. I'm like, great, that's okay. We got to start.
Yeah.
And then I say, well, how are you going to fund this enterprise? And they don't know. And that's where I connect them with Charlie or some other people. And I just really try to make sure that they understand this is a different animal than an owner-occupied house, and it's a different way of looking at it.
Absolutely. Well, not only that, for any first-time investor, and anybody that's buying property for the first time, it's a whole new set of language, like new terms that you really have to, people throw them out, but it takes a lot to actually understand them,
Absolutely.
for one.
Yes.
And then it's trying to get a hold of what the strategy is going to really be, and
Right.
something that can last you for long-term, short-term, whatever the strategy is.
Right.
So
And buying it right is key.
You buy what? You make your money when
you buy it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't make money when you sell it or when you rent it. You may be playing catch up,
Yes.
but if you don't buy it well, if it's not, the numbers don't fit when you go into it, it's not going to, there's no way you're going to make it happen down the road. It
Right.
just isn't. And that's why a lot of guys, in 2008, when the economy went to total crap, that a lot of those guys got caught with their pants down because they had multiple rentals. They had a lot of builders who had just tons of spec rentals on the ground. Spec homes on the ground, and here they are stuck. No one can buy. No one was buying, and they're letting those things go. And some of them are being foreclosed. And you don't want to be in that space. You don't want to get. You always look ahead, like what you and I talk about. When you buy an investment property, buy it on its long-term rental potential.
Yeah.
And then maximize it with short-term and mid-term.
Yep.
But if you always have to flip back to a 12-month lease, the numbers are still there. It's still viable. It may not be optimum, but it's viable.
Yeah, and also just not putting rose-colored glasses on Airbnb on something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can look at this property we've been talking about and say, this is so unique. There's so many bedrooms. You could do so much with this property. I can max out the amount for what the market holds and for Jackson Ward in Richmond, and do the top line per night type rate and be able to do that. That's I could do that, but that seems dumb to me. That you're setting yourself up for maybe not the best. It's
you're gonna have vacancy.
Yeah, you're gonna. Well, one, you actually need to build it up to that point where you have enough people renting it to actually get that top dollar. You can't just
start there.
You have to start small. So I wanted a little bit of I was looking at this portfolio as like a great way to get into this space and start building from there if it could cash flow. But I knew it would take some time. And now the strategy is I think I'm going to start smaller. Yeah. Especially if they refuse if my rip of a house refuses to come around and say.
Your rip is not wanting to take you to the dance.
Yeah. Just say, what? I need more money for that. They refuse to acknowledge.
But and that's okay because it's a process. You have to work. Real estate is a process. It is just not one of those things that, you go out and buy a car in an hour, you're in a new car or whatever. It's a huge responsibility financially, regardless of whether it's an owner occupied or investment. And you have to do your due diligence to make sure that this is not going to torpedo you financially in the end. I mean, that's really important, to look through all these details, and you do that really well, as a matter of fact.
Well, thank you.
I'm tired of you telling me how many nights you've stayed up with this dumbass house, but yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, that first night where we thought we had a verbal win.
We had a verbal win, and I got shopped. I'm telling you, I got shopped. And I was like,
I created everything I needed for the Airbnb business. Like,
you already had it.
So
you were
ready.
You're like, I've got it together. I got all the list of the linens and the coffee maker.
Go.
Yeah, I'm going to Amazon and wait for the snot out of that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I already had mattresses in my cart ready.
I didn't know that.
No.
You're killing me. But I mean, and that, but you've gone through that. Mind that those hurdles, and so when the right one comes across our desk, that's in place. You know what I mean? You've already gone through that process in your mind.
Yeah.
And you've already got things done. I know there's spreadsheets and stuff everywhere. I know there's some
I'm trying to approach it as reasonable as
I know there's some spreadsheets, but that's a good thing. And sometimes I think the more difficulty it is in doing anything, it just sharpens your quiver. I mean, it just really makes it better in the end.
So thank you for that comment about numbers and trying to come at it with a, conservative mindset and just doing your due diligence with the numbers. But one layer I would add to this, and this kind of ties back to the start small and kind of grow from there, is I think a lot of people start small with maybe flips.
Yes.
And one extra layer I would add to this, and I think you've kind of danced around it, you guys have talked about it on the podcast before, is your responsibility to other people that will live and use the space. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people out there. I feel like I live in one of those houses right now where it was flipped and it was done poorly.
Yes.
And that's awful for anybody that intends to live in that space.
And if you don't have the resources, you're playing catch up, and
Yes.
you really don't have, a lot of folks struggle getting into their first home or whatever. And sometimes they'll fall in love and go gaga over these flips, because it's shiny and sparkly and granite and all that. And I can look and say, well, the cabinets aren't plumb, and I can see the minor defects. And then if that's glaring to me, what did they not do that's behind the walls and things that I can't see, And I really try to counsel people, be careful getting, the shiny object syndrome, because once you get in this house, it's taking every dime you got to get in here. Mm-hmm. How are you going to repair anything in the event it wasn't done well?
Yeah.
And, in home inspection, we'll find some things. It just can't find everything. Latent defects will show up. I mean, here's the story. And I mean, this is going off on a different tangent, but here in my own home, I'm a realtor. I used a home inspector. House is only '06. It's not terribly old. It's a lifestyle home. It's a little neighborhood in Charter Colony. I'm sitting at my desk. It's a 5-bedroom, so technically the downstairs bedroom is my office, but it's not huge. Mm-hmm. When I say 5 bedrooms, I'm sitting there at my desk, and I got this drip.
Oh no!
And I look up, and there you can see water falling a seam. And at the time, when I was married at the time, and the husband was in the shower, I heard the shower running. I'm like, what the hell is that? So I'm like, get out of the shower. I don't know what's going on. So I moved my desk, my computer, got everything out of the way. You know what I mean? My plumber came over. I said, can you get over? I think I've got a leak and I don't know what's going on. He gets up there. They start cutting along where the drip line is. And it's just, drywall is put up with drywall tape and mudded. Mm-hmm. They cut it literally. This thing, the whole piece falls out into the floor. And it's a paint pan, like a roller pan, falls out with it. And I'm like, what the shit is that? And we started hooting and hollering. The former owner, instead of fixing the leak in the master bathroom shower, balanced a paint tray on a beam up there.
Oh my god!
On a piece of the drywall.
That was
cut it because he said it's been cut out before. And it filled up over time. The few years that we lived there, by the time this happened, it filled up over time and started to overflow.
Oh my god,
That's crazy.
that's his love letter
And
hidden in the rafters.
it fell into my office, and I was like, "Do you guys?" I told the plumber, I said, "Do you guys want to take this for show and tell for your morning meeting tomorrow?" They're like, "We have never seen that in our whole life."
No.
I mean, and I do this for a living, so on my own home, you can't. That's something no inspector, no one would ever find.
Yeah.
Until the paint pan fills up and it overflows onto your desk.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, so, no matter how much due diligence we do, a lot of these little couples who are buying FHA 3.5% down, and it's every dime they can do to get into it. If they get into a poorly done home that's been renovated, they're screwed.
Which
I mean, it wasn't a huge repair, but they repaired the drain. It was literally caulking around a drain, for God's sake. And then we had to let the hole sit there and dry out for a week. And then they had to come back and put another piece of drywall in. I mean, it is unbelievable.
That's a horrible story.
It's
that
a
just
stupid
it also
story. It's
just
like, geez, what in the world?
it just paints a picture of how I mean, if you're going to do a job, you should always try to do it well and just accept the realities of the business you're going into. So it's either
Right.
If you're with this property we've been talking about, I knew that it would take some time to get it up and running.
But you would use professionals. You're not going to. I mean, this guy thought he was a DIY handyman.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was a piss poor DIYer. I mean, I would have never thought, well, let me just balance a paint tray up there.
In some respects, I got to tip my hat off to him because that's
It
pretty
is
bold.
creative. Because he's thinking to himself, I'm long gone by the time those what's figure that out. Isn't that funny? I mean, dear Lord. But that's true. But you anybody who's doing unless you have your own crew, like I work with investors they employ guys and they work constantly. So they have their own little crew. And that's what I talked about I will say to people trying to get into investing who call me from Bigger Pockets. You're going to be paying for licensed contractors specific to their trade to do anything on that home. So that's top dollar.
Yeah.
Unless you are just beyond handy. So factor that into your costs, right? You've got to factor a plumber, an electrician, a general contractor. You have to factor all those things in. It's not just, well, the price of the house is this and I need, $40,000 to freshen the kitchen and a couple of bathrooms, new carpet, blah, blah, blah. Now what's the labor and all that and managing that crew, and that's the thing, and that's where you get either a good renovation or a poor renovation.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is a struggle. I mean, looking at single family houses now and even with this property, I mean, again, I've been looking at Richmond real estate for like the last year, trying to find something that I thought would be a great start to a portfolio. And that is a huge obstacle to try to overcome is how do you identify the cost and plan for enough of a contingency for the pans in the ceilings to catch water.
A paint tray in the ceiling right underneath a poorly caulked shower valve.
That's just crazy.
Only me, right? I have sympathy for people when they're like, well, this is wrong with the house. Well, have you had a paint tray fall on your head? No. So shut up. And when it came down, it was all the brown waters out of a shower. Think about it.
I don't want to.
And thankfully, my plumber was like, he put tarp down and we taped it against it was like, we created this space. He said, because I don't know what's going to come out of here. It could just be a wet and it's just been dripping. We did not anticipate a full of water paint tray, bath water.
How much is this house?
My house now?
No. The one that,
what they're asking for it?
Well,
yeah.
It was listed at the first time around or the second time around.
It was listed for $625.
Then was raised to $650, and now I think it's at $630.
Yeah.
So I did some plain research.
Which you do well.
So obtainable on that level, it'd have to be up a little bit more. They're like a 2-seater, 4-seater. But
he's talking about the planes.
Helicopter.
Okay.
Is under 3, a full plane, and you could charter it for what'd they say? Average per hour, $1,000.
Wow.
We might get out of the real estate game, Rachel.
I mean, I'm ready to.
I was just thinking, I would.
She's ready to tap out.
$1,000 an hour for a charter a helicopter to say just to go from here to DC or something like that. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And like I said, I know a pilot.
Can he fly helicopters?
No, not helicopters, but he's always wanting me to go to the Chesterfield Airport so he can rent a Volkswagen with wings on it and take me up and fly me around the county. And I have not taken him up on that because if I go down in a plane crash, I want 300 of you going with me.
Okay. You need friends.
Do what?
Do you need friends as that's happening?
Yeah, I told him, I said, I want a little flask in my hand. I want to pregame before I get in the airplane. I mean, it literally is the size of a Volkswagen, and it just happens to have wings on it. And he's done it before. He's taken my mother. He's taken, my kids. I'm like, I just, when I fly, I want to be toward the front of the plane, and I want to be really big.
Although I would do it.
I'm just have no desire to learn to fly myself. I don't find joy in it. I don't know how the man goes to work every week and spends, he'll say, I'm doing 3 legs to Denver, blah, blah, blah. He talks to me back and forth.
Well, I'm sure being in the cockpit is a lot different than actually being in the airport. Because
airports right now, more,
it's awful.
Well, I hope it calms down because I'm going to be doing 10 days in Hawaii in February. So y'all need to get it together.
Wow. Ever been to Hawaii?
I have never been to Hawaii.
Yeah, neither have I.
So we're going to Maui for 5 and Kauai for 5.
I hear my parents have been twice, and they say Maui is the top.
Yeah.
So
I just, let's do it. Let's get this thing on. It's a girls' trip. So I may or may not come back.
There you go.
Not sober anyway. Oh my gosh. Well, I just love that you've come here to, first of all, share this lovely TX
So good.
bourbon. I got to tell folks, and you found this at an ABC store. You found this here in Richmond, ABC.
So I did have to take a day off of work to go and hunt
I'm
down
feeling
these bottles.
poorly, Mr. Manager, and I've got to stay home.
My boss is the one that turned me on to this.
So he can't say
in
but
some
so much.
respects, he'd respect me for doing that.
Yeah.
But this took me a half day to find, and it was in a Richmond area VABC. I cannot remember which one.
And that is fantastic. I appreciate it. And sharing this it's delightful. I mean, it might have been a heavy pour, but mine's gone. So,
yeah, it's great.
and I want to say thank you to my boy, Michael.
Thank you.
Studio 77. You got a listing to hit for me tomorrow. No, Thursday. And I won't be there, but help yourself. I'll give you the code to get in.
Maybe there won't be two boats in a dumpster in front of this one.
Oh, shut up. He will never let me forget that. And by the way, that listing in particular has been a pain in my rear end. It has been the house that keeps on giving. So that being said, and it's the same investor, but we just prettied this one up. It's a cute little house in the Villages of Chester that's coming up. So
Wow.
you're going to like it. And we've done a lot of really cute things to it, upgraded, just from granite to quartz, and painted the cabinets, put new carpeting in. It's really
shiny stuff.
It's shiny. It's shiny and ready for anyone who wants maintenance-free living. And other than that, Rachel, it's a blessing to have people like you in my life. You are just a blessing.
I could easily say the same thing about you.
You're one of the thing that makes my job so awesome is we got to be friends, and then that changes the dynamic. But you still, I think you value my opinion. I value your needs and concerns, and we just have this level of respect. It's how I see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
and we share bourbon.
I'm still learning. We share bourbon, and I'm still learning about the real estate.
Every now and again, if you might catch us over at Mac McCormick's over on Perham Road.
Drinking some more TX.
Drinking some more TX. I want you to subscribe, follow, all the things. Come see us. We love you.
You've been listening to the Real Estate and Bourbon podcast, hosted by Dawn Roy. Have real estate or bourbon questions or a juicy story you want us to talk about? Call our hotline at 804-293-0550, and maybe you can be on our podcast. This has been a Studio 77 production. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow the Real Estate and Bourbon podcast.